What is going on, Busy Bariatrics? Today we're diving into one of the most misunderstood conversations in the entire bariatric and GLP-1 space. Hormones, menopause, metabolism, and why so many women feel like their bodies suddenly turned against them. And listen, if you ever looked at your body at 40 and thought, what the hell happened? You're not necessarily crazy, but you're probably also getting fed some wildly bad advice from the internet. Because somewhere along the way, social media convinced people that menopause means your metabolism dies, hormones are the reason nothing works, carbs are evil, lifting weights is too stressful, and somehow the answer is surviving off 900 calories, cortisol fear, and powdered supplements named after woodland creatures. Which is amazing because apparently Karen from Facebook University cracked endocrinology before posting minion memes and yelling about seed oils. Meanwhile, women are exhausted, under-muscled, underfed, stressed out of their minds, sleeping 4 hours a night, doing random cardio circuits, and wondering why fat loss feels impossible. So today we brought in somebody who actually understands this stuff. Stephanie Crassweller is the host of Metabolism and Menopause Podcast, a menopause and hormone coach, and one of our summer camp speakers. Every time I talk to Steph, which is literally today, I realize just how awesome she is, and I have been smitten with her podcast ever since coming on to her content. Today, we're going to unpack what's actually happening during menopause, why muscle matters more than ever, why your metabolism isn't broken, how stress and recovery affect fat loss, what bariatric and GLP-1 patients need to understand about hormones, and how to stop reacting emotionally to every scale fluctuation like it's breaking news on CNN. Because if you keep chasing extremes during menopause, you're going to lose muscle, energy, confidence, consistency, and eventually trust in yourself. But if you understand the assignment, you can absolutely get leaner, stronger, healthier, and more confident in this phase of life. And honestly, that's the whole point. Steph, you survived the intro. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I told you it was super long, but I'm just so enamored by everything that you produce and your vision of why menopause is so important. And I just feel like the ocean and the sea gets deeper every day of just bad hormone menopause information. So for people who don't know you, just could you tell us who you are and why you were so passionate about it? Because I'm grateful you exist.
Of course. Thank you. Yeah. So I always thought actually that I was going to be a gym teacher. So bless you for being a teacher, because I found out very early in my university career that I don't have the patience for that. So thank you for raising and influencing and taking care of our kids, because I couldn't do it. So I continued on in my journey and became a personal trainer, did my kinesiology degree, worked as an exercise therapist. Everybody was fighting about the athletes, right? Wanting to train the athletes. And I was like, you can jump a little higher, whatever. Doesn't do it for me. Not a big deal. I loved working with diabetics, cancer survivors, people with osteoporosis, cardiovascular disease. Like I love just gen pop and seeing their confidence improve, their body change. But there was this group of people that I really struggled with. So I continued doing this in my bachelor's, my master's, continued on into working as an exercise therapist for the health region, working in public health, was working as a personal training manager. Then I had my own clinic, running my manual osteopathic therapy practice, had trainers under me. And during all this time, I was always seemingly drawn to working with women between like their 40s, 50s, 60s, like just that was the people I was always working with. And I just found like with working with women and talking with them, it just wasn't adding up. People who were like 200, 300 pounds, eating 1,200 calories and not losing weight. And it was like, okay, the eat less, move more thing is obviously not working. And there's no way every single person that you're working with is lying. So I was like, there's got to be something else. Dove deep into metabolism and understanding that. Great, fantastic. Learned so much and started implementing that. And about like 60% of people were like getting pretty good results, but there was still this like 40% that what was going on? And so then after that, I dove into like hormones and the world of perimenopause and menopause. And it was like, when you see something, you just can't unsee it. Like it's just permanently etched in your brain. It was like that. I'm like, I cannot believe what I am learning and understanding and just how much of an impact it made on the decisions on how to coach women and support them. And so then I was running my clinic and working with women, focusing predominantly in perimenopause, menopause, weight loss. And that just took off like crazy. And then I had to come to the decision of, am I going to continue to have my clinic because I'm, working 40 to 50 hours a week there and had 60 clients on my own. And so then my online business really grew. Now we have a team of 15 and we work predominantly with women in peri and postmenopause. We still work with women who are younger, struggling with hormone stuff because it's increasingly common now. But during all of that, I really came to the whole mission was around my mom. And so my mom, during this process of me building this business, it was one of those things where it's like I learned the stuff too late, which really sucked. And so she had been diagnosed with cancer like 9 years prior, beat it, was good, everything was fine. And she was someone who was always quote unquote healthy, very active, did the fitness classes, rode her bike everywhere. Like her lunch would be like a salad with tomatoes and salt. Like she just didn't overeat, was inherently healthy from the outside. Labs looked pretty decent, but always kind of struggled with her weight. We lived in a very stressful situation with my dad growing up, who was very abusive. We lived in a home that was not super great, and we never knew if he'd be home, if he wouldn't be home. It was a very like physically and emotionally abusive environment. And we finally got out of that. And then eventually my mom's cancer came back one day, and I took her to the hospital, made a stink about how I wasn't leaving because something was just like not right. And they were like, oh, like, it's very doubtful that anything's going on. I'm like, no, listen, she's been having issues breathing and she's a healthy person. This doesn't just happen overnight. Like, can you please like just do a scan of her lungs? Because she had colon cancer. If it spreads, it goes to lung and liver. Like, I know this. I've spent a lot of time researching all these things. And they were like, oh, it's so rare that would happen. That would happen. They finally did me a solid and did an ultrasound because I basically set up camp in the emergency room and was not leaving. And they found a baseball-sized tumor on my mom's left lung, which left it completely collapsed. And then when they did the scans, it was in her brain, it was in her spine, her liver, everywhere, and she was gone 2 weeks later. And there were so many warning signs looking back now on her struggles with her stress, on her struggles with like not eating that much, with the kinds of foods that she was eating, the fibroids and estrogen dominant symptoms that I wasn't aware that she was having. Like there's so many things that I look back and I'm like, man, she really did, in her pursuit of trying to be skinny or to lose weight, really did go about things the wrong way, really sacrificed like her boundaries and overworked herself and, was doing so much for everybody else that it literally created an environment in her body where, cancers were bred. And so like, I'm very big on, making sure moms are here longer, that people don't have to go through what I did. Like she never got to meet my husband. She never got to meet my kids. And just learning to do things the right way, because people don't realize that they're working so hard to lose 10 pounds, 15 pounds, 20 pounds, trying to do it as quickly as possible. But they're doing it in a way that they're trading the short-term weight loss for long-term years off their life. And like, that's my big thing is like, let's make sure we're doing this ethically, because there are too many people out there who are not doing it the right way. Other coaches and things like that, where, it's negatively affecting the internal systems in their body, their hormones. When we hit perimenopause and menopause, everything that you've done really gets amplified. And this is why we see like such huge rates in different chronic diseases that we never used to before, because we've been crazy with weight loss so earlier on and so many attempts in doing it the wrong way. Then we lose that hormonal support. And it's like, it's the perfect breeding ground for disease, and it makes weight loss really, really hard. And the harder that we push, the harder it is to lose. And so I'm very big on, I am not willing to sacrifice years off of your life for you to lose that 10 pounds. We're going to do this the right way. It might take longer, but like, I'm not willing for what happened to my mom to happen to you or for your kids to experience that either. And so that's like my really big shtick of like, I've always been in the health space, but the understanding of how much ethical responsibility that we have with the people that we work with was like so monumental for me when I lost my mom. And that's really been the whole ethics piece and the story that we have to keep telling people, because it's not worth it to not be here for 10 extra years, to spend that time with your kids, with your grandkids and all that kind of stuff, or having good quality of life, being the grandparent that gets to babysit, that gets to be at the soccer games instead of being in a nursing home where your kids have to bribe your grandkids, once every 2 months to come visit you for an hour. Like, I don't want that. I don't want that for the people that we work with either. And so that's a very long-winded way to tell you of why I do what I do.
Yeah, but it's so beautiful. And I'm going to go all the way. The teacher in me now has to go all the way to the back of the rubric.
Oh, yeah.
And give you my thoughts on everything. You have a real passion for this, and you see the importance, and especially in a field and an industry that, for lack of better words, is just not regulated.
Mm-mm.
Everything that you shared shows how important this is, but also that you say you don't have the patience to be a teacher, but throughout the entire story, you showed every aspect of being a teacher, from Like, seriously though, wanting to, like, everyone says we want to work with the athletes. I personally, by day, am an inclusion teacher for the same reason you wanted to work with your population kinesiology of. Yes, I totally get getting an AP kid to go from a 4 to a 5 is a beautiful thing, but I really pride myself of how do I help this kid learn to read? How do I give them the executive functioning to study? And so much of that tells me that you're a teacher. The joke I was going to then lead into is, you really are a teacher because you work 2 full-time jobs and you think that's just normal to make things work. So it's like, you really are a teacher. You really are a teacher. I will say that. The idea of like, yes, I'll work a full-time job. And what do you do for fun? I work a second full-time job. So, no. Yeah. So tragedy plus time equals comedy. It always works like that. But, but seriously though, this is so important to you. It is so important. Like your philosophy, I think is so, so important, especially like in the bariatric community. We have people who are struggling with obesity, people who have many times, not just one, but multiple comorbidities, and losing weight isn't necessarily just because they want to look skinny. It's because they want to live.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to find coaches that understand that it's not just all about weight loss. It's about regulating and making sure that everything is set. And like, I don't want to dunk or talk crap on like anyone else, but like, I'm very selective of who I like to talk with and like bring into my community, especially for summer camp, because there are a lot of people who just hang a shingle. They've seen like 5 Instagram reels and all of a sudden they become an expert, and you really have the science and knowledge and the proper credentials backgrounding with this. I don't want to anger you too much.
Do it. Fire me up.
I just want you to just keep hitting dingers this whole one. What are some of the biggest misconceptions you see about metabolism and menopause online, and why are they all just wrong? You could keep it to like your top 25, because I know
top 25.
I said it was going to be a 35-minute episode, and then after the opening, I'm like, man, I think this might be a 5-part series, but
oh man, there is just so much. And so like when we're talking about metabolism, like how well your body is at burning calories is essentially what that kind of boils down to. And so another way to think about it, though, is how good is your body at taking food and turning it into fuel versus storing, right? Because that's really what it comes down to is, you could have 2 people eating the same food, the same weight, the same height, the same everything. But there are things fundamentally in your body that are going to influence if your body is going to take that food and turn it into fuel, or if it's going to store it as fat. So perimenopause and menopause becomes this big transitional moment where you are exposed to everything you were just getting away with. And so what I mean by this is maybe you were fasting a ton before because you were told it was good for your blood sugars, you told you it would help you lose weight, whatever it might be. Estrogen helps you stay stable. It helps you maintain your muscle mass. It helps your blood sugar regulation. It helps with stabilizing your stress hormones as well. When estrogen starts to decline and progesterone starts to decline, you don't have as much support in those areas anymore. Your body naturally becomes more inflamed. And so what you were getting away with before that estrogen was kind of handling, now it's like, okay, I like to call her like mom of the house. She's the one that's like, I shouldn't say this is what my husband does. He does like all the cooking. He's fantastic. But let's say hypothetically, mom is cooking, she's getting groceries, she's doing the laundry, she's doing the dishes, she's cleaning the house, she's doing all the things. Mom gets sick. And now the house looks like, honestly, the way after my son's awake for like an hour. There is stuff everywhere. Is it mom's fault that the house is falling apart, or is it that the whole house collectively is not pulling their weight and she's doing way more than she should be? That's kind of what happens when estrogen starts to decline. Now you are exposed to what she was taking care of when you actually weren't doing the things that were supporting you, even if you didn't know it at the time. And that's the thing I always like to tell people is, don't feel bad that you were doing these things, because you made the best choices that you could at that time with the information that you had. You had no idea the negative consequences that would come, how menopause is going to adjust things for you, make things change. And so you have to give yourself a little bit of grace. A lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did this to myself. Yes, but you also did the best you could with the information that you had. It's so like, let's take fasting, for example. We're fasting, we're told it's supposed to be good for blood sugar. It's supposed to, help us lose weight, all the claims there, right? But what if your body views that as too much of a stress? When your body is stressed from under eating, over exercising, skipping a meal, not sleeping enough, the struggles of everyday life. Now what we're going to
Tuesday, but
Yes, exactly. Exactly. It's what we've normalized is just, normal. And so what happens is your body goes, oh man, there's a big demand on me. And especially for females, a lot of asked is asked of us, right? Like we're big givers, we're moms, we're wives, we're also trying to do the career thing. We're usually the ones taking care of sick and dying parents, like those kinds of things. There's a lot of stuff on our plate. And so we're always giving. That requires energy. If we are not eating enough or eating often enough, or we're skipping breakfast, our brain goes, hey, we need energy to do this thing. And so it tells your liver to dump sugar into your bloodstream because you didn't feed it anything. And so over time, what happens if you're fasting all of the time is your body gets really good at not needing food and turning it into energy. So then when you do give it food, it doesn't use it for energy. It stores it as fat. And so it's all about the signaling and what you're actually like teaching your body. And so it's understanding, can fasting help for some people? Sure, but not always, not all the time. We've used it very seldom in coaching to ever get anyone results, because long term, we know what your body is going to adapt to. Your body is always adapting to the signals that it's receiving. And so you have to be very cautious and understand, are the things that I am doing sending the right signal, like avoiding carbs? That doesn't fix your blood sugars. It just removes the trigger. Because then when you do eat sugar, guess what? Your body doesn't know how to handle it. And so there's all of these things that happen and change as your hormones change that really amplify the choices that you were making prior, even if you thought they were doing you a favor. And so we also have to understand with cortisol and stress, like this is the biggest thing, is understanding that we need to be able to buffer stress better, because our stress is kind of like a stress bucket. You have like a 9 out of 10, and then it starts to overflow. And then in hormone changes, now it's a 5 out of 10 bucket. But you were always living at an 8. So now that bucket is just overflowing all the time, despite the fact that you didn't change anything. Your routines are the same. The sleep is the same. Nutrition is the same. The workouts are the same. Nothing changed. But internally, your capacity has changed, which women hate to hear, because we want to know that we've always handled things. We've always been the person people go to. We can handle it. We're the glue of the family. And so suddenly to hear that you don't have that capacity is like a slap in the face. And you're like, I don't like you anymore, because who are you to tell me what I am or am not capable of, right? We don't like that.
I will just do more, and it will be so much more efficient if I do it this way.
Exactly. I will not ask for help. That is a sign of weakness. I'm not doing it. And so what happens is every time that bucket overflows, your blood sugar gets worse. Your liver is dumping sugar into your bloodstream. Inflammation goes up. Hormone production declines. So now you have worse hormonal symptoms than before. Our thyroid slows down, which means our body gets worse at burning calories. We see that our gut health gets worse. We have more bloating. Our energy gets worse. Our sleep gets worse. And all of those things just chronically continue to increase stress, continue to increase inflammation, continue to tank our hormones. And a lot of those things that cortisol negatively impacts, estrogen was also helping buffer before, like the inflammation, for example, the blood sugar. And so it's this double whammy. And if you were already doing habits that weren't supportive of that, it really amplifies things. And so it's not that menopause slows down your metabolism. It exposes the things that you were doing that were not serving you, which were then negatively affecting your metabolism. So menopause and hormone changes is actually this catalyst moment of you cannot ignore this anymore. You need to deal with it. And it's like, honestly, a really good opportunity to change your health and your life around. But it doesn't feel that way. It feels like the worst thing ever. So you have to do a little bit of a mindset shift there, because it can be really, really, really hard for some women.
So much of that is incredibly true. And I think for so many of our listeners, those are all key identifiers. Something we pride ourselves in Busy Bariatrics is the Y stands for showing up for yourself. And I think for so many times when we have traditionally moms who are getting close to menopause, or if they have high functioning jobs, things that traditionally for either gender give a high level of stress, the boundaries get very blurred. And the Y stands for showing up for yourself, of just saying like, no, we need a shut off time, or we need clear time for breakfast or for meal planning, or even just to say like, no, I need time in my day to rest and recover to get everything through. But I think a lot of the times what people will come and say is, my metabolism is broken. I know that's like such a like generalized way of putting everything. For someone who thinks their metabolism is broken, how do you actually, like, can you break your metabolism? Is it actually broken? If we do break it, can we return it? Is there a way to heal it? Like, break us down like kind of what that term means or how it's thrown around and what really does healing or getting into a proper situation look like?
Yeah. So the biggest thing is like we want to, like, if your metabolism isn't broken, it's either just like down regulated or up regulated is what we call it. So it's just adapting. It's either slowing down or speeding up. And so we want to make sure that the signals we send your body tell your body, hey, let's take this food and turn it into fuel. Hey, let's use the food that we're consuming and use it for good in our body as opposed to storing it. And that's the thing we need to fix. You can't fix it if you're chronically under eating because your body goes, I don't have enough. I need to store. And if we're in that depleted state for too long, everything slows down in your body, like everything. And the way I like to think it is like that movie Inside Out. I don't know if you've seen it with the feelings.
I have two young girls, and I actually, when I taught in Philly Public and I was a dean of students, for a lot of our kids who are oppositional defiant, like using the characters to just identify their emotions is perfect. So you're in my world, just like
perfect.
You really should, if you want to like scale back and become a teacher, you're kind of built for this.
So the way I like to like think about it is like you have all those little people up there and it's like mission control and there's buttons and there's levers and they're like, okay, we only have X amount of calories coming in. What's getting shut off today? And they're like, well, we already slowed down hair growth. So that's gone. We're not going to replace collagen in our face. Wrinkles are coming on. Okay, now we don't have enough to produce estrogen. We're going to pull that lever. And so things just start getting pulled all the time. And you get to a point where they're just like grabbing the next thing because they're so exhausted. There's like not enough in, right? And so that's the way I kind of like to think about it. And so we need to make sure that we're bringing enough in that the lights can get turned back on. And so a lot of this does require some reverse dieting of some sort. We need to make sure you have enough of the nutrients, enough of the calories coming in order for your body to be like, oh yeah, we have enough coming in. We can now turn hair growth back on, or we can, get our hormones back up or whatever it might be. And so that's a big part of this. However, there are people who will increase calories and will not feel better. They will not see changes and they won't really heal. And so this is where we need to look at the other factors that are influencing how well your body burns calories. It's not, because sometimes adding in more calories is enough to bring your stress response down. It's enough to like stabilize your blood sugars again, because you're eating often enough and big enough meals. But for some people, that's not enough because there's too many underlying things that are still going to be interfering with that signaling. And this is where things like liver detox come into play, or inflammation, or we're looking at your blood sugar might need more than just bigger meals and, meal timing. We might have to look at some other things, or stress. If your stress is super high and calories aren't enough to like bring that stress response down, because your body does view a calorie deficit as a stress, we need to look at other things. This doesn't mean like a bubble bath or booking a massage all the time. It's like, when do you actually take time to slow down your heart rate or breathing rate? The majority of people are like, I don't know what that means.
Tomorrow.
I'm aware.
It's tomorrow.
Yeah. And it's not sleep. Sleep doesn't count. Like, this is when do you actually slow down your heart rate and your breathing rate? And so this might look, like just taking a few deep breaths before you leave your office, before you get out of your car, before you walk into your house. Or for me, like I like doing gratitude journaling at nighttime. I do that every night. I write a few things that I'm grateful for. I like to pray in the morning and spend time in my devotionals. Some people like to just do feet up on the wall. So laying on the ground, feet up on the wall, it brings your heart rate, your breathing rate, your blood pressure down. But we're just so go all of the time that we just don't give ourselves that opportunity to heal. You need to create space to heal, but we are so overstimulated all of the time that it makes it so hard for that to even be a possibility for you. Like, when's the last time, I love when people listen to my podcast, but when's the last time you went for a walk without your headphones in? When is the last time you drove in your car and didn't have music playing? Like, when is the last time that you actually just were with your thoughts, just being? A lot of us are like, that sounds terrifying, very uncomfortable, but it's the truth.
I'm really trying to think and I'm like, oh dear God.
Yeah, it's really hard. Really, really hard. And so it's creating that space so that your body can actually slow down and heal. And a lot of people are like, well, I love my life. It's so great. It doesn't matter. My Aura Ring, today I've been on calls and podcasting all day. I have had my stress score it is high the entire time. So even the things that bring you joy are a stress to your body if you aren't recovering enough or fueling yourself appropriately because you're still giving energy. And so this is where we need to understand when it comes to making your body better at burning calories. It not only needs enough adequate fuel, it needs a body that has that time to actually slow down. It needs to be in an anti-inflammatory state. It needs a liver that can process toxins out of your body. And this is especially important for people who are bariatric because when we are focusing on weight loss, your fat cells hold on to toxins and fat cells also release inflammation. And so if our liver is not functioning properly to get rid of that, this is where you see people who take GLPs and feel really sick after or really lethargic or they feel flu-like, and it's because your body is eliminating toxins and your liver can't keep up, or you're dehydrated and not able to like get rid of it that way, or you're not having regular bowel movements. And so this is where we need to make sure those things are in check as well. But then also like gut inflammation, because if your body can't absorb the nutrients that your body needs to heal, it doesn't matter, right? It's all going to get stored. And so this is where reverse dieting can be really helpful in providing yourself with enough of the nutrients, but you also have to make sure your body is in an internal state where it can use all of that stuff and actually functions appropriately. Like I always like to give the vending machine analogy where, you're pressing A1, you're doing the things for fat loss, and you are expecting that like Kit Kat bar to come out of A1 and you get like some nasty, disgusting licorice out of C3. And you're like, what the heck is this? I want A1. So you keep doing the same thing to get that A1 Kit Kat, but you keep getting licorice over and over and over. And so this is not like an action problem because like technically a calorie deficit should work. If it's not, that tells us there's an internal wiring issue. And so then you learn to rewire the internal vending machine, then you press A1, then you get the Kit Kat. But nobody wants to take the time to stop pressing the button and fix the internal wiring so you can actually get the result that you want. And that requires the liver work or the inflammation and the blood sugar and all the things that we've talked about because the body is more complex than just calories in, calories out. It's not just how much you eat, how much you exercise. There are so many other factors that dictate, is your body going to respond predictably? If it's not, which most people it's not, this is more than just a calories in, calories out problem. This is an internal system that's going to be influencing everything. We can't isolate the thyroid. The thyroid is affected by a bunch of different things, and the thyroid affects a bunch of different things. And so we have to take a bigger full look picture at the entire vending machine and see what is happening. Let's rewire so that when you go to do the thing, it's easier and you actually get the result that you're looking for instead of just like pressing A1 like a crazy person for the last 10 years, right?
Phenomenal on so many levels, and you are 100% right. It is Kit Kats in A1, and getting licorice would be the bane of my existence.
It is.
I can't really add anything more because you said it brilliantly, so I'm going to lean into the candy part of it. But no, and I think there are like so many warning signs or at least red lights, and I really like the way, like I could go in 8 different directions on this between when we simplify it to just calories in, calories out, or like eat less, move more, it is such a blanket statement that does not get the nuance or complexity of life, human beings, or society. And yet that seems to be like either people come out on the internet and they say that and it gets like 8 billion likes, which is a whole different pile of troubles. But if people really want to start rewiring or figuring out like how do we do the rewiring work, what does that look like for the average person, or why is it so important to realize that like you're going to keep getting licorice, so let's rewire?
Yeah, and so this is going to be tough because it really depends on each individual person, right? But the biggest thing, and like people hate this because they're like, that's not what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear like some fancy protocol or something that's like really cool, or a supplement, or like tell me to cut out my carbs or to fast because that's easier, right? Or that logically makes sense. And it's 100% the stress reduction, you guys, which nobody wants to hear, but it is reducing stress off of your body. And that doesn't mean, that doesn't mean getting rid of all your worries. That's not realistic. You're not magically going to have $1 bajillion in the bank account. Your kids aren't always going to be nice. Like, it's just real life stress is going to happen. It's learning how to mitigate that as best as you can. And so that comes with eating enough food, obviously eating enough calories, supporting yourself with the right nutrients. But, turning your phone off, like what are you doing to close that stress loop? Because we are just so in that high stress all the time, but our body never gets the signal that we're actually okay. Like we never actually purposely take the time to be like, we're good, we're safe. Because if you think about it, let's take an example of running away from a bear. When you stop running and the danger is gone, your heart rate comes down. You're like, oh, okay, we're safe now. Great. Body gets the cue, stress is over, you can recover. It is like we are running away from a freaking bear all of the time because we never give our body that moment of like, oh, we're okay. And so some ways to help close that stress loop that is very helpful. Exercise can actually help because it brings our heart rate up and then down in a dramatic different way. So that's helpful. If your body can tolerate the stress of exercise, though, that's the caveat. So this is where like people are like, oh, HIIT and sprint training. If
I'd
it's
rather
not
be
too
attacked
much.
by a bear. Like, just personally, if given the choice, like, see, like, let's be honest. Like, I would much rather take my chances with a bear than like HIIT class. Like, that's where I'm at in my life, my security, and I know I'm going to get my ass kicked in both. So it's like, it is what it is.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. Oh, you're gonna make me cry. Yeah, so like exercise can help with that. The other things that you can do is being creative. So when you are in your fight or flight state, you literally can't be creative because your body is so focused on fight or flight. So if you pick a hobby that's actually creative, you cannot be in fight or flight or creative at the same time. It does not happen. And so this is where you could take up like an adult coloring book, paint by numbers, cross stitching, knitting, whatever it is that you want to do, something creative. Spending time in nature helps close that stress loop. Oxytocin from like cuddling a pet or like hugging someone, meaningful conversation, laughing, like actually communicating with people in real time, that relationship building. Those are all things that help close that stress loop. And then things that just regulate your nervous system. So doing like an ice pack on the chest or the back of the neck can help. Doing deep breathing, humming actually helps stimulate that vagus nerve as well. That is responsible for your rest and digest portion of your nervous system. So if your kids are pissing you off with like humming and little noises, they are actually regulating their nervous system to not piss you off. So encourage that all day, you guys. Singing, humming, really, really good for kids' nervous systems. So it might be irritating in the moment, but so much better than dealing with a tantrum later. So there's that as well. But it's the stress management, the actually slowing down and taking time for you, filling your cup back up. And people have a hard time with this as it feels selfish, like, oh, I'm making myself the center of the universe. No, it is the responsible thing that you need to do to be able to show up the way that you want to show up for everybody else. It's for you, but it's not even about you, right? We're doing it for us, but it's for us to show up as the mom that we want to be, the wife that we want to be, the way that we want to show up in our career, for our friends. Like it's for us, but it's not about us 99% of the time. Because if we're doing it for us, usually we're pretty easy to like lose motivation. I always say that people are like, oh, it's a time problem. I don't have time to like dedicate to this. I'm like, no, if you had more time, you know what you would do? You would add other people to your to-do list. You're not even on your to-do list. So of course you're not going to get anything done for yourself. And so this is the responsible thing for you to do to be able to be here long-term for your family, for your spouse, for everything, and show up the way that you actually want to not be that nursing home grandparent, to be the one that's there and active. And so we're all like, oh, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. I'll do it later. You need to take that time for you now so that you can be here later. And I think that's the biggest thing, because if your stress is so high, your hormones are always going to be crap. Your blood sugar is always going to be crap. Your liver is always going to be crap. You're going to be inflamed. You're going to be bloated. You're going to have crappy energy. You're going to end up with autoimmune conditions. You're going to struggle with cardiovascular disease. Your sleep is going to be garbage. You could sleep 8 hours and never feel like rejuvenated in the morning. Because like cortisol will win every single time. It does not matter. That is like the puppeteer master of everything else. And so you can do all the fancy protocols. If you are stressed, you are always going to struggle. And yes, we deal with the trauma and things like that. I get it. I've done through the therapy too. And you're like, I've wiped my hands clean of it. Things are better. I'm not stressed anymore. Doesn't matter. Your body's nervous system gets triggered so much more easily. And so for me, I can't even work out when I go travel because like my nervous system gets so jacked up from traveling, even though I've put in the work and done the therapy and all those things. And so it's really learning what is too much for your body, understanding what that capacity is, working to slowly increase that. But you are never going to be able to do all the things that you want to do if you don't take the time to recover and actually allow that capacity to increase. And you're going to end up frustrated for the rest of your life. And so it's not just, the calories and the food that you're eating. This is the number one thing that if you do not address, it is going to be an uphill battle and you're going to be frustrated every freaking day.
Steph, it's I don't have much to add because like it's everything I say, and I always joke with summer camp. I do you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm at all?
I do not.
Or at least know the show. So Larry David is the writer of Seinfeld, but it's a show where like most of the stuff he does is for spite, where it's like on sheer principle he does this. And summer camp, I always joke, was built on spite, like Larry David does. Of these are all the things that I say, and to have such a great expert come in and say it almost the exact same way I do. To the fact that like you could have taught a masterclass on the why in the busy method of showing up for yourself.
Perfect.
No, but it's the best part of summer camp is having so many experts come in and share their perspective on probably the same 3 or 4 issues. Mm-hmm. And the best part that I love about all the speakers we have is everyone's giving the most simplest answers of what it is. It's resistance training if your body can allow for it. It's getting an adequate amount of sleep. It's holding boundaries with people so that you have time to like stimulate yourself and do everything. And it's just really rewarding and awesome that you have this perfect vision of how you can help people, and it's simple. And I say that in the most respectful, best way possible, that it's almost a mindset shift of everything that has to happen for them. If someone sits there and says, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I can't possibly get anything off my plate, how do you start to help women either work on that or develop it or make it actionable so that it doesn't seem so overwhelming to take time for themselves?
Well, I think it doesn't have to be this huge commitment at first. Like this can literally look like when you go to leave work, before you walk out that door, take 8 slow, deep breaths. Everyone has time to take 8 slow, deep breaths. The world will not end if you take 8 seconds to breathe versus if you don't. And I think the really big thing is understanding what it's costing you. Like not taking 10 minutes for yourself every single day, understanding like if you continue going at the rate that you're going, where is that going to take you? Like, is it worth starting out with 10 minutes of just like a walk outside in the morning before you start your day, or, spending some time doing a gratitude journal or whatever it might be, right? Like it's not about, do you have time? It's like, you don't have the time to not, you know what I mean? Like your life will be drastically shortened if you don't. And so it's like, do you take time now or you take time off the end? Is like honestly kind of the blunt conversation, but it's how do you feel after? Like you don't have time. How much more productive are you on the days that you have energy and you feel confident? Like how much more productive are you versus the days that you feel bloated, that you feel exhausted, that you can feel your energy just like dipping in the afternoon? That difference in productivity is absolutely worth taking some time for yourself. And I think that's the issue that we see a lot is that, we've just been told to hustle and grind and keeping up with the Joneses. And I'm like, what's the point if you are absolutely freaking miserable?
Or dead. Like
literally.
Let's just call it what it is. Like you were working yourself to death.
And it's like, and that's like what my mom did, like for us, she gave up everything. And like, I'm so grateful for all the opportunities that we had, but it's like, she literally woke up at 4:00 in the morning to go shovel pig poop for a job for a very long time. And, like I was working to help pay bills with her. And, she was only sleeping like 6 hours. She was lonely. She was isolated. She was always driving us from place to place, eating in vehicles. Like she loved being a mom and she was the best mom. And we were like best friends, but like, I cannot tell, I would have gotten over if she would have said no to me. Getting over her dying so young is something I'll never get over. And so like, you have to think about it from that perspective of your kids want you here happy and long-term. I cannot tell you how much my mom weighed on any single day, ever. It did not matter how quickly she lost weight or regained the weight. That is not what I remember. I remember her laugh. I remember the memories. I remember the food that we used to eat. She was the best baker ever. Terrible cook, but great baker. Her brownies were the best. But like, those are the things that you remember. And so we hyper fixate on things. And yes, we want to lose weight to be healthy. Absolutely. But you have to take care of yourself by giving yourself time. Your kids, your peers, your spouse, whatever, have these conversations Because I can guarantee you, if you ask them, would it bother you if I took 30 minutes to myself today? Or would it bother you more if I died 10 years too early? Guess what they're going to say. And that's like a pretty gross way sometimes to like say stuff. But honestly, if my mom would have said that to me, I would have been like, oh yeah, like I definitely want you here for 10 years longer. Like that's a no-brainer. But we just get so caught up in everything all the time. And we think everything is so urgent. When we're stressed, our brain tricks us into thinking everything is urgent. What's the difference if you answer an email today versus tomorrow at 8 a.m.? Literally nothing. In some cases, sure, there's a fire to put out. But 99% of the time, it's going to be fine. Yeah. And so it's just like putting into perspective, like realistically, does this have to be dealt with right now? Is this more important than me living 10 extra years? That's kind of the perspective you have to put it in. And so in my opinion, it's not worth it not to. Like,
I think even like so many good things and beautiful points that you bring up with your mother. And I look at like, I've lost my father in the last year. And this was a guy who worked from like probably 8 in my grandfather's mill. I had no problem. Like the answer was, well, if I just work harder, it'll solve most of my problems, or I'll finally relax eventually. And it's no surprise, like when you look at everything you say, for so many adults, it's when you work at that level for that long, for that sustained amount of time, year over year over year, he collapsed with a massive heart attack at like 67 at work. But it's, I think the reason why it's important we talk about this and have these conversations is we always like kind of neglect the why in busy, because we look at it like building habits always gets like sexy Instagram posts of like, here's my morning routine. Here's like my shutdown nighttime routine. Understanding nutrition. Everyone out automatically goes for like it's nutrition. If you just have that perfect macro split, or if you eliminate or add carbs, if you eliminate or add fats, if you eliminate or like you could go in 18 different directions. Or here's the perfect workout split that will absolutely get you jacked and shredded. No one really like posts that much of like, here's how holding a boundary with myself or collecting a clear line of work does it. So like when we have voices and people like you who say like, look, we get that the other 3 letters are important, but that why is so misunderstood. And you did such an amazing job of explaining how it really ties everything together.
But if you can do the why, then you can do the other stuff. Like if you take the time, if you have energy because you've elicited boundaries and because you actually take the time to slow down, allows you to be more consistent. Because if you're exhausted, what are the chances that you're going to have a salad for lunch versus like push for like pizza or pasta, right? Like the pizza sounds pretty darn appetizing. If you were exhausted at the end of the day, what are the chances that you were going to choose to have some like fruit and nuts for a snack, or like some air pop popcorn versus like sitting down with a tub of Ben and Jerry's, right? Like to have the time to actually like take care of you makes making the better choices significantly easier, and they end up being the default. When you are in an uphill battle because you are exhausted because you're not taking time for yourself, it is so freaking hard. So hard.
Yeah, it's... Can I ask like one random math question for you?
Absolutely.
Okay. Again, ballpark, we're not quoting you. We're not going to check your books.
Yeah.
How many women have you worked with in your career around menopause? And
over 1,000 for sure.
Perfect. Okay, this is good. And for those 1,000 clients, how many of them say that like they deal with like overstress, high work, like stress eating, emotional eating?
I can't remember anyone who didn't tell me that they were, well, I shouldn't say that. Some people don't believe they're stressed, but then they tell you everything. You're like, you're stressed. And then we do testing. It's like, now you like proof's in the pudding. Yeah.
I can hear your voice and I know you're
like relax your shoulders. We're on Zoom.
You are across a Zoom and I am like, you are, I promise you the people around you aren't telling you because they're probably as awkwardly anxious as I am.
They're scared of you now.
Yes. Yeah. But like you're stressed, but like, okay, so let's ballpark to make it easy of like 750. If you had 750 of those clients who stress eat, how many are crushing like a bag of carrots when they are emotionally like distraught and everything?
Not one.
Okay, so 0 out of 750, you'd like gamble, you'd gamble like a condo in Florida over.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I think that's why, like, so many times, like, when clients like think like, oh, I need a better macro split, I need to white knuckle, I need to like either like build better discipline. The answer for a lot, and a theme that we even put on t-shirts in our company, is like, more is not better, better is better. So
Yes.
the idea of like, let's bring it down and do 3 things really good as opposed to 52 things overwhelmed and overworked.
Yes.
And it just resonates on so many ways. Now, Steph, I could talk to you probably for like 17 hours because you're good people, and everything is great here. But I do want to mention that you are speaking in summer camp,
I
and
am.
if anyone is listening to this, like, getting a chance to get eyeball to eyeball with Steph is going to be a phenomenal part. What are you going to be teaching in your session, and why do you think it's so important for bariatrics, people taking GLP-1s, or just really women who are getting into perimenopause, menopause, and really just anyone?
I'm going to break down like all the factors that go into making your body good at burning calories. Like what are all those things that will move the needle, all the dials that you can pull, because everyone thinks it's just eat less, move more. So it's like all the levers that you can pull to like optimize your body to do what you want it to do, but also so you feel freaking good. Because if your body's not good at taking food and turning it into energy, you're gaining weight and you're also freaking exhausted. Both of those things suck. So we're going to try and fix that.
Neither one of those things are great. And Steph, I got to tell you, like, I just learned so much in this episode. If people they hear this, and although all stats and data shows after 30 minutes, nobody listens to my show. So we probably should have put this in the front. Look, it's Matt. Spotify is painfully clear of when they stop, and it's 32 minutes for me. But if people are like, yeah, I need more of you in my life, how can they connect with you? How can they get in touch with you? Because your voice is just so powerful, and you get it.
Thank you. Yeah. So the podcast is called the Metabolism and Menopause Podcast. So that's like the best way to get like menopause specific education, perimenopause as well. You can follow me on Instagram at vitality.oet.stephanie. That's our company name is Vitality OET. You can find me on Facebook. And we also have a book coming out at the end of this year. So if you follow me on socials, you can learn how to get on a list to get notified once that comes out. We were reviewing cover design today, which is really exciting. It's all about conquering perimenopause and menopause and how to like get control over your body again, improve energy, see fat loss, and just feel like you again. So I'm really, really excited. This has been a long time in the making. And so it's finally happening.
And I got to tell you, just so well deserved.
Thank you.
You have a passion, you have an energy, you have a great way of teaching, and that book is going to be phenomenal. I can't wait to get a copy when it comes out. I am going to wait till we hit stop to ask about the book cover because I'm way too curious about stuff like that. But, like, everyone, please go follow her. We're going to put links in the show notes. And because Steph is Canadian, she's going to patiently get through the closing now, even though nobody listens to this. So, all right, Busy Bariatrics, if this one hits, that means it's time to stop treating your body like it betrayed you and start learning how to work with it. Your metabolism is adaptable, your body is resilient, and your future is still incredibly changeable. But you need to remember, the assignment is alignment. If your daily behaviors don't match your goals, your body eventually tells the truth. And hey, if this podcast helped you in any way, the best way to support the show without spending a dime is to leave a 5-star rating and review. It helps more bariatric and GLP-1 patients find real guidance instead of gimmicks. Please screenshot this episode, tag us, share us with a friend that needs it. And until next time, keep getting busy. Steph, thank you so much again for coming on.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.